For me, it really comes down to the basics of having the tools to manage whatever hurricane you find yourself in.
One of the biggest eclipse seasons that we've had in a while. But I think we're reaching a healing crisis. More people are going to have to be drawn to holistic healing, learning how to detox, learning how to self-heal.
As the levels of fear are just rising and rising and rising.
Well, that as the energies of the ascension increase, the fear will also increase because it must be released.
She couldn't explain her fear. And we just explained to her, said, listen, it's very normal to be having this unexplained fear. It's part of ascension symptoms. So just feel it, allow it, but breathe, like come back into your body, breathe.
So we've almost been healing all of our physical structures from the inside out. And a lot of those old systems and structures are now collapsing because they are not able to evolutionize, and they're not. And unfortunately, that's also happening with the physical vessels.
And I was so moved at how beautiful the universe and spirit and like the hope that you have around you, and just the magic can really manifest if you just let go and trust.
Letting go for me personally has become stop trying to figure it out.
To be with yourself, to be and not doing, because the doing is guided by the mind.
Feel your feelings and follow your feelings. And now I'm taking the total opposite approach, where I'm like, I'm just gonna follow how I feel.
Way, and meanwhile he's not seeing that under in the heart space where he can drop and just let go. There are thousands of pillows, very comfy, where he can just land and be himself. So
Aurora, the astrologer and good friend of mine, how are you? It's wonderful to have you back. Thank you for doing another kind of podcast with us today. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited because this fall is going to be big energy. So I'm excited to see what you guys are feeling for it. And these eclipses, I think, are going to be massive.
Yeah. And do you know, it's so funny, like when you say massive, I feel like I keep, Erika and I, sometimes we wake up in the morning and it's just like, wow, these energies are intense, or wow, these energies are intense. And I feel like I'm saying that like all the time. And I actually, on so many occasions, say to Erika, I'm getting bored of saying that, but it's really real, you know, and really true. And I think the intention of doing a talk and a chat like this with yourself and with Erika is really to help get awareness around what's happening, and for people to just know that whatever we're going through is okay. And that's one of the kind of the tools that Erika and I offer is our Double Detox program, which is on this, our second for the year, or third for the year actually. Is the next one's going to be on the 12th of October to the 7th of November. It's always a 3-week detox. And as you've just mentioned to me in our pre-chat, we've got a double eclipse in there. And so just, I guess, to start us off, perhaps maybe each of us could share a little bit about how each of us are feeling. Today's the 21st of August. Kind of how are we feeling in these energies today? So Erika, maybe just perhaps starting from your point of view and what you're experiencing.
Hi, hello to everyone. So it's an interesting, because everyone has a different experience, but because this space in which we are is becoming so long, the experience start to be common, because in a period you feel nausea. I never had it. It's so weird, your symptom, and then you have it. Or you need, I'm a serial sleeper. And now in these days, never as before, I can literally do a marathon of 15 hours that are very rich in detail and depth. And many times I ask for answer in my dream, answer or simply guidance, because I don't have specific question in this moment. Just the question is how to proceed, how to raise, how to accelerate, or how to ascend in my right timing. I don't want to accelerate nothing because it's just fast enough. So yeah, like very interesting. And I'm noticing that somehow dimensions are melting. What I mean that I always have certain kind of dream that are, let's say, different reality in which I find myself since I was a child, and now are becoming more defined. Or some of these reality can easily be entangled with my own, not linearly. It's not that there I break a glass, and here I walk on a glass and I cut my foot. It's not so linear. But for example, if I drop a glass in another reality, in this reality, an awareness of how the glass has a certain temperature of transformation similar to the silicium enter in my awareness, and so make a click in mine. And so this is happening more and more. So it means that literally the layer in between, level in between reality is getting thinner and thinner. That means thousands of things. It's not only this, that's the physical image, but also it means that soul are passing and jumping to different experience. That means different kind of death, illness, and then also miraculous healing, because that's also someone that download the healing that needs, and the illness serve the purpose of showing up something. So everything is becoming more clear. Everything is becoming more into your face, literally, and is a collective feeling. So that's quite evident to me. So
yeah, brilliant. Thanks.
That's what is in my awareness.
Yeah, brilliant. Aurora, how about you? Because obviously we're based in different continents as well, and it's always really interesting to see. I know you're based US East Coast way, so how's things on your side?
You know, it's I think, well, from just my perspective and here in the States, everything's been so polarized. We've got such division, and I'm sure other countries might be experiencing that, but ours is just very heightened. It's been very political, very belief system based, and we have this deep polarization. And now there is this kind of trend happening in this movement where people are starting to realize that they have to really come together and drop the dualistic kind of thing in order for us to move forward. And I think in America, we're experiencing kind of like a second revolution, in that the people have to stand up for something, and it can't be against each other. It has to be together as one. So that is happening, and it's very interesting to watch. I have also felt a lot of that collective energy, and especially here, what I'm feeling is, here in America, we're so busy. Everything is super busy, and it's all struggle, and it's all there's no time that people have or space to heal, to even slow down, to contemplate anything. They don't have time or resources to take care of themselves health-wise, food, these sort of things. And that's becoming the real crux. And just like Erika said, the veil is getting so thin, where what I'm seeing here is that people are manifesting a lot of illness, because the energy, the density and the toxins that they have within, the time frame is getting shorter, where that manifests as a symptom or an illness. So we have less time now, where you can't put off healing for 5 years. It's not going to work. And so I think we are actually going to we're reaching a financial crisis for sure, which surely a lot of other countries are too. But I think we're reaching a healing crisis as well. And our medical system is not really functioning anymore. And so it's interesting where I feel more people are going to have to be drawn to holistic healing, learning how to detox, learning how to self-heal, learning how to even be self-aware. So that's what I'm sensing, and it's getting very rapid here.
Yeah, I think the pace at which things are moving has been the real step change for me in the summer period. I think we always feel it being on the island of Ibiza, because we go from, our local population is about 150, 160,000, and then we go to millions, right? And all of a sudden you just feel the speed pick up. The tourists are here for kind of freedom and party and all of that. Not everyone. There's also a huge portion of people with families and folks who come to retreats and all of that. But, you know, you start to see just small things like more car accidents, for example.
Yeah.
Just simple things like that. Or, you know, people's their irritation levels raised because they can't get parking, and then you've got like 35 degrees heat and people are losing their marbles because it's like, I just want to go to the beach and relax and I can't because I can't park, you know. And I think you know, as wide as the spectrum is, whether it's a medical system failing or whether it's not being able to get parking, for me it really comes down to the basics of having the tools to manage whatever hurricane you find yourself in. And that ties in nicely with kind of what you were saying. Erika mentioned in the beginning there, like sleeping, rest, so important. Like, and she's a definite champion. Like, maybe you get a gold star for for sleeping. But that's her way of processing. Whereas me, my body clock just clicks in early morning. And so my tool that I use to help process is getting out in nature and walking. And then we do a lot of training and exercising enough so that we can get kind of the heart and body moving, but not too much where we then so tired and we can't process anything else. And then the biggest one for me is what I'm seeing personally and professionally with the clients that I'm working on is the levels of fear are just rising and rising and rising. And that's causing people to really lose it. And when I first heard about this notion from my guides, they said to me, listen, you're going to start to see people literally lose their minds. And I was like, what does that mean? What does that look like? And with the things speeding up and now starting to see that, it's like, wow. And I'll give you a quick example. We had a friend who was going to mainland and she couldn't explain her fear. She was catching the ferry and she couldn't explain it and she was freaking out. She left a voice note and she just couldn't explain this fear. And so we gave her a quick call and we just explained to her, said, listen, it's very normal to be having this unexplained fear. It's part of ascension symptoms. So just feel it, allow it, but breathe, like come back into your body, breathe, and then use different kind of techniques and tools. But even just having that conversation with people you love and trust and using your community to support you through, that's another tool. And so you're kind of having to draw on various things depending on what of the situations is. And Double Detox is that program we've created, which is coming up on the 12th of October this year, which is a real tool to help detoxify the body. Now, Aurora, I know you've done a lot of detoxes. So maybe, and I was watching on your channel, just you speaking to the importance of doing the detoxes along with some specific astrological alignings. So perhaps you could just give us, we intentionally chose the eclipse season. And we did a really rad podcast with you earlier on in the year talking about what we could expect. And so I'd really love to hear from you what we could expect for detox in this eclipse season, which is up and coming, and how the astrology relates to the detoxing.
Yeah. So funny enough, you know, that's something that we've also been sharing for quite a few years, was we have been, you know, warning people that as the energies of the ascension increase, the fear will also increase because it must be released and it must be mastered and dissolved. And so we call it the glitch. That when the fear overtakes and they don't have tools to manage, it starts to glitch the system and they don't know what to do with it, right? So we've always called it the glitch. And it's exactly that. They don't have, most of the masses, especially here in America, I feel over there, you might have a lot more conscious people. They have no tools. There's no tools. They're either self-medicating, or, you know, through either pharmaceuticals or alcohol or whatever their you know, their thing is. Or they are seeking to, I guess, try to control their lives so that it doesn't bring up that fear. And this year is a huge year because back in March is when we at the end of March is when we first had Pluto dip into Aquarius for about 6 weeks. And it's the first time he's been in Aquarius since, 1776, which was when a lot of revolutions, around the world began. The French Revolution was a few years later, American Revolution. And Pluto, I think might have mentioned it in the last one. He works on this really deep cellular level. He's the death and rebirth planet, but it's not really a surface level thing. It's deep cellular transformation. So since he's been in Capricorn for the last 15 years or so, Capricorn is the structures. So we've almost been healing all of our physical structures from the inside out, but also the systems and structures that we operate in. And a lot of those old systems and structures are now collapsing because they are not able to evolutionize and they're not able to really move forward with us. And unfortunately, that's also happening with the physical vessels. If they're not doing things like detoxing, and combining that, of course, with the inner work, right? And the things that you're teaching as well, you have to do both. They're going to start really feeling it. And so I have felt for a while that this fall into winter is going to be an accelerated healing, but it might appear as an accelerated illnesses as the start, right? Or those fears, those glitches, because by next January, Pluto's going to officially station in Aquarius. And that's when we're going to really see a huge cellular shift, almost a DNA mutation within humanity, since Aquarius rules humanity. And so we are turning into galactic beings. That's the cellular transformation. So this fall, I think, is going to be, I'm so glad you guys did it on the, that you chose the eclipses to do your detoxes, because it's the best. They're going to get so much more out of it than on a normal season. And especially this fall, I'm already seeing the little, we're seeing the rumors over here of them possibly trying to attempt another kind of fear around illnesses and, the flu season, all that. So the biggest thing I feel that October and into early November, that's going to be big is, well, first of all, from now till October, we're going to have about 7 planets in retrograde.
Yeah,
So
well, I mean, that was also mind-blowing. Like, I had friends going, they're messaging going, Michelle, what the hell's in retrograde? And I'm like, oh, by the way, we're not the 6th one. I kept reading your channel.
Everything. Everything's in retrograde. And I always view retrogrades, a lot of astrologers, they all see it differently. I simply just see it as the switch from an external focus to an internal focus. Sometimes we do have to be focused on externally what we're doing in our lives and things we're creating and working on. But when it goes retrograde, it's all, okay, flip it. And now you got to focus all within. So all these retrogrades are just pulling all of the energy into ourselves and having to really, really go in deep. And then in October, what I'm excited about is, so the first eclipse will be a new moon solar eclipse in Libra, and that'll be October 14th. And this is going to be the first eclipse that we have with the new axes. So from February of 2022 to July of this year, we had the eclipses in Taurus and Scorpio. So we were working very much on those two axes, which Scorpio is really the psyche. It's the hidden subconscious energy. And Taurus is the very physical body, the physical energy. So we were working in those two realms. And now we're moving into the Aries Libra axes, which are going to be very different. So we have the first eclipse in this one on the 14th. And so Libra in medical astrology rules the kidneys. And it's all about balance. And that's the whole idea of Libra. But something that's going to be important with this particular eclipse is, since we have the South Node in Libra, which is, the South Node's always going to show us what needs to be let go of. And I think in the sign of Libra, It's about anything, any relationships in your life. And that could be romantic partners, business partners, or any sort of dynamic. It could even be, you know, when you're working with people one-on-one, like a session dynamic or a therapy dynamic, where you're giving too much energy away, or where you're allowing relationships in your life to bring toxicity to you. And so the kidneys are highlighted with Libra because it's what flushes out the toxins and it's what keeps you balanced. So I think for a lot of people, it's not only going to be, you know, what relationships in your life are kind of not good for you anymore, and also what relationship do you have to yourself and the ways that you don't love yourself and you're not treating yourself well. But I do feel the kidneys and the lymphatic system are going to be especially highlighted during the fall, and in that eclipse particularly. And then at the end of October, so it's going to be October 28th, we will have a full moon lunar eclipse, and it'll be the final one in Taurus. So after that one, we're officially done. But that one I feel will be the most intense because Taurus rules the physical body. And so it's a full-blown physical purge on that, around that time. And of course, Taurus is going to rule things like the throat and the mouth and their relationship to food and what kind of food they're putting into their bodies. And Taurus is all about being as natural as possible, as organic as possible. So from my feeling on it, that time is really going to be almost where I can see collectively our bodies purging anything that doesn't belong there, anything inorganic. And I do have this feeling that people are going to start being very sensitive to chemicals. And so chemicals are not going to work anymore. People are going to have to learn how to eat organic, how to make it work for their finances, their lifestyle, and cutting out anything, even products that we use on our skin, on our hair, and really going back to naturalness. So that eclipse season, I think, is going to be one of the biggest eclipse seasons that we've had in a while. Since we're having a little bit of the new axes come in, and we're also getting that final Taurus full body purge. And that leads us into November, which not so much astrologically, but there's been a few channelers that I've seen, and I really did resonate with it, of them talking about how, you know, we're moving into a higher frequency in general, because a lot of people are awakening and a lot of people are releasing. And so to operate at this higher level now, people are going to have to go through that accelerated healing, or they're going to rapidly decline. So that's my feeling on that. And the retrogrades I feel leading up to that are hopefully helping everybody really just focus on the inner work right now. Don't worry so much about, you know, let love handle the details, as we say, in your life, and just go within, because, you know, we need to be prepared for what the body needs to do, and you know, love it as much as we can and give it the best shot we can to that full healing. So that will be, it'll be big.
Well, another big one, as we say this year, like
All big.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That's incredibly helpful. And Erika, I'm just going to kind of invite you to perhaps share some wisdom around the lymphatic and the kidney systems, and how that relates to detox, and maybe just some helpful things for folks to be aware of. And it's so interesting because I know these particular systems, if you like, especially the lymphatic systems, have been firing up for both of us this year. And sometimes I'll see Erika, she'll be watching a video of sorts, and she'll look at this because she can read it and she can see the energies, and she'll be like, oh, Mish, this guy's, you know, kidneys, you can see by his eyes, and she tells me all these things that show her signs of dysfunctional parts in the body. So Perhaps, Erika, if you could just speak to that and why it's important, and how the kidneys and the lymphatic systems kind of do the detoxing, and then how that ties into food. Would you be able to speak to that for us?
Yeah, I would love that. Thank you. So lymphatic and kidney are both correlated with the water. It's not a case that we are going versus Aquarius, and the two main organs, because also the lymphatic is considered an organ for what it does. Kidney in the specific is connected with the water, and lymphatic is, yes, the water running, but is the capillarity of the water. So it's one of the property, is the articulation of one of the characteristics that make the water such a unique element. And it's connected with the wood. So we have these two elements. The kidney in the specific are also connected with the fear and the courage, so the opposite, as the vibration of fear. So it's funny that you mentioned it before, and we just everything, because everything is mirrored in everything. So we can take it from the cat a little bit more scientific, or the cat a little bit more spiritual, or the cat, the food, but we are speaking always about the same things. That's the beauty, that's the awareness that is coming to the mainstream right now. So not separate, we're not speaking about separate things, but we're speaking about things that are one. These two systems are the one that help the natural detox of the body. The lymphatic one a little bit more in surface. The kidney one, it's very connected also with the child, with the babies. If you look at the kidney, it looks like the fetus also. So it's something a little bit ancestral, and is exactly in the middle of our body, close to the first and the second chakra. So it's something root, something ancestral, something also that make us proceed. There's a sort of the two sphinx. You have to pass through them, let go of your fear, because sphinx feel if you are all lying or if you are afraid. That is the same thing, because we are afraid when there is a little lie inside of ourselves, or we are not truthful. So these two kidney are sort of two sphinx that are waiting for Atreyu, for the hero, to pass in the middle, leaving behind the fear and be truthful to itself. The lymphatic system that run for all the body, a little bit more the feminine one, meanwhile the two kidney are some of these mythologic androgynous form. Then there is this lymphatic system that run all over the body and is connect with glands that are able to release. So we have it mainly in the soft space, our underpit, or behind our knees, or close to our genitals. We have sort of a ramification, like the root of a tree, or the branch of a tree. The lymphatic system is quite similar, and so we have this ramification, and then we have glands that are able, through the lymphatic, to then bring their water or excess of a toxin, and then you can release them through massage, to tapping with something hot, with stone, with scrubbing. Sometimes we explain many of these techniques during the detox, because it's not enough to flash, but sometimes you get accumulation of this toxin, and many times are chemicals or heavy metal or stuff that the body doesn't know how to manage, or prefer to don't have passing through the digestive system for the toxicity of these elements. And so I prefer to let them pass directly from the gland without passing through principal organs. The body is very smart. And so we suggest during the detox to go into sauna, or to help with the opening the mouth of the skin, the porous. There's a release of toxin, and we explain also a little bit in depth how to do it. Maybe a massage, a lymphatic massage, is something that we suggest, because with a very soft kind of massage, you can literally move the toxin close to the zone of exit, also the foot and the hand, by the way, and then you release. So you scrub it well, you clean it with products that are natural, or with oil, because oil, through the lubrification, help the pores to be open and to release. And so cleaning will be very key. Self-care and clean all the aspect will be very important in October and in the end of September. So we are finding very important these two. And then for kidney, the quality of your water and the quality of your mineral will be key. So the amount of salt and the quality of salt and all the trace elements or the minerals that you assume that you absorb are fundamental. And for sure, sesame seeds, so gomasio in the specific, will be very helpful through all the season because it's a very good ally, a very good friend of kidney.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much for that, Erika. And I love the connect for when you said kind of into the water, you know, they're both water, right? That's super cool. But, you know, I'm a big fan of water. I really focus on the water. We filter it various ways. And this is what we teach in Double Detox. We actually charge our water. But more than that, it's I'm reading a great book, and Erika and I were actually listening to it as we were traveling, but it's by Gerard Pollack, and it talks about the fourth state of water. And it's absolutely mind-blowing as to how the water changes shape and the different states, and they prove scientifically, in my opinion at least, you know, he does leave it open to interpretation, but in my opinion at least, how there is a field, and that's essentially what is transmitting the information. And so, you know, coming back to that, the kidneys, the clearing of the water, flushing the system out is super helpful. And then linking to the fear. And so in relation to the work that I do, what I often say to my clients is, you know, the water that runs from your eyes as you're clearing or you're letting go of something, it's one of the most healing things. And I know particularly perhaps as women, but maybe even more so as men, we don't want to cry. We don't want to, you know, show those emotions. We don't want to let it go because that's perceived as weak. But when you actually look at it at a scientific level, it's interesting how those emotions get stuck in that water as the tears run down your face, and you can energetically, so it's such a beautiful picture, you can energetically see those emotions, those stuck emotions actually leave your body. And so that becomes so healthy to do. And so certainly in my sessions that I have with clients one-on-one, but very much so in Double Detox, we do have a lot of people go through these emotional, you know, times as such. And, you know, we obviously very much encourage the purging, the clearing, the allowing and letting it be. And so my next question to both of you, perhaps Aurora, if we can start with you on this one. The big message that we get from the astrology at the moment, and you've been saying this so much in all the videos that I've watched of yours and in your channels, is let it go, let go, let go, let go. And it's so interesting. And Erika, I want to hear your thoughts on this as well, or your feelings on this as well, is what does it mean to let go? Because for someone who's like, when I first heard that, and I'd have, you know, sessions with my mentors or my healers or my guides, I would get so frustrated because I'm like, but what do you mean? Give me a practical example or help me understand this. And it became so frustrating. And sometimes folks can be left feeling hopeless because I don't know what it means to let go. And so perhaps we could all just speak to that as a definition, as a personal definition.
Yeah, you know, it took, I would say that took me many years to figure out too, like, what does it mean? And I think for me, I've come to feeling that there are a few ways to let go, depending on what we're referring to. But in all, for me, it's been letting go. For me personally has become stop trying to figure it out. If something in your life is not working, or you're confused about what decision to make, or you're feeling some sort of way. And for me, my biggest struggle was always trying to figure it out. Oh, what's the planets doing, or what energy is this, or what transformation? And it's like, at the end of the day, it was making me focus on it that I couldn't let it pass through. And I couldn't really let go because I was stuck trying to figure it out. So for me, it's become that don't figure it out. Ultimately, do what you feel. And something that I've been sharing a lot lately is similar with the crying and the release, is just feel your feelings and follow your feelings. And I think because exactly we've been taught, like, don't be emotional, be logical. And now I'm taking the total opposite approach, where I'm like, I'm just going to follow how I feel and follow it all the way to the end. So if I feel angry, let myself feel that, let it flow out until I feel it's complete and I've let go of it. And if I feel to do something, even if it doesn't logically make sense, I'm just going to do it anyway. And that for me has been how I've felt to let go, which was don't try to figure it out and don't control and don't suppress, just flow with it. So whatever I feel, I have to follow that to its conclusion and let go. And so I think for a lot of people, at least a lot of people I work with too, they'll have examples of, they really feel drained and exhausted at their job. They hate it. They don't want to be there. And of course, they feel like they want to leave it, but they don't, because they're trying to figure it out. And if they would let go and just follow how they feel, you don't know how it's going to all play out. You don't know what's going to happen, but you need to follow how you feel. Same thing if in a relationship, you're feeling like this isn't working anymore, but you're holding on to it because you're trying to figure out how to fix it, or you're trying to figure out if, oh, maybe I'll change how I feel and maybe it'll get better and maybe this will happen. And if you do really let go and just follow how you feel, you let go of it, you leave, you do whatever you need to do. So that's my new mantra, I guess, is don't figure it out and just follow how you feel and follow it to its end. And that's my new way of, I guess, letting go.
Yeah, and that requires trust, right? Because that truly is like moving from the head into the heart, which is our job going forward. We know this as we move through this ascension process, but it's literally if you're making a financial decision, I can't see the numbers, but you need to do what you need to do. And it might scare the bejesus out of you, but it's allowing that guidance, that inner guidance, to come through and to trust that. And I think that's perhaps where people meet the biggest hurdle. It might be a huge hurdle, or it might just be a stone in between their toes, that they're still trying to run this race. But if you don't take that stone out from between your toes, you're going to have big problems, come kilometer 20 or whatever it is. And so that elements of trust and just following that inner compass becomes kind of the critical nature there for me. But yeah.
And that really, I guess, relates to the fear, that we're talking about, and the kidneys. And that makes so much sense of, if you don't have trust, because you're in fear and you're in fight or flight, you can't let go. You're going to cling because you're in fear to whatever it is. And yeah, that trust and that root chakra seem to be the really big sticking point right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Erika, what would you say is kind of a helpful way to make sense of the term letting go?
Well, what Aurora says is, meanwhile she was speaking, was very figurative what I was seeing. So it's this sort of a hanging to this balcony that is a place in this area, and all these men completely try to hang and try to figure it out, how to go up and reach, because the unique solution that the mind sees going up is keep on going. It's the survival mechanism that is put there. So there is this way, and meanwhile he's not seeing that under, in the heart space, where he can drop and just let go, there are thousands of pillows, very comfy, where he can just land and be himself. So this is the image of the letting go that we are invited to. But of course, if you never have done this exercise of release and let go, that drop look like you are falling into the abyss. So the fear of death, the fear that if you don't follow the mind that want to save you from the danger, because it has been programmed like this to survive. So when was needed. So it's something, is an information that is old. But the point is, and so you don't let go because you're afraid. That's why little step at a time can be a moment where someone calls you and you really don't want to say yes. And you always say yes because your mother teach you that that's the right thing to say when someone invites you for dinner. And the day you try no, and you drop on the pillow and say, whoa, this feels good. No, and you don't have to justify. No, thank you. I have other plans for the night. Wow, that first truth that look like a nothing is the first drop from the mind to the heart, and feels so good that is a little exercise, because it's not a big thing to let go. It's one yes or no at the time. To let go is not a university or is not a place that you reach. Is every time something comes, is yes or no. I'm true to myself or I'm not. I'm true to myself or I'm not. Because the mind is the one that creates all the society that is collapsing right now. So if you keep on following that, you will collapse with that. The heart is the new truth. It's always been, but before the mind building were able to survive. But right now, it's been called in different books, has been called as the apocalypse, has been called as the call of the angel, has been called as the ascension, has been called as whatever, is the moment of truth. Everything that is not in full truth, and the truth is your truth, your personal one. What is truth for you is not a communitary truth, because that has been a little bit of a challenge. We always find, what's the truth? Is one truth? No, it's your truth. Be true to yourself. Be who you are, and unique as you are, and different from everybody else. That's why you are one with everybody else, because we need you as different as you are. And so letting go is literally dropping in completely in who you are, and allow yourself to don't be anymore what someone else or what somebody else or what something else told you to be, but just drop into that place where you are. Yeah. So it's less of doing and more of being. We didn't grow up with this exercise, and we are now need to learn. So my suggestion will be, take time to be with yourself, to be and not doing, because the doing is guided by the mind.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, Erika. And I'll just share a quick story on how I was challenged to let go this holiday, where Erika and I were in the camper van. We were cruising around Portugal. Beautiful camper van. But Erika has a love for kind of older things. And this camper van was one of those antique things. It was a VW that was super cool, built in, I think, between 85 and 90. And so it was a super cool kind of van. It only had 4 gears, or let me say 4.5 gears, because it had a half a gear that was kind of like the 4-wheel drive gear that would get you up a really steep mountain. And Erika called it putt-putt, no? Because you could only go like 80 kilometers an hour, and we could only drive a maximum of 200 kilometers, because otherwise this thing would like literally just implode. And one of the times we had had some challenges with the car, we had literally driven down this kind of really steep valley into an area where we were going to do this beautiful walk, which is a walkway in the north of Portugal, about an hour west of Porto, just to be in nature and enjoy that experience. You see waterfalls and all that good stuff. And Erika had driven down, and we got to the bottom. But one of the things that we had been struggling with on the trip was that the accelerator pedal kept getting stuck. And so if you're driving here in Europe, or most of us drive kind of shift, right? So we're always having to shift gears. And so when yeah, exactly. It's manual. So, when you drive, you have to let your foot off the accelerator.
Okay.
And so we weren't able to do this, because as you're driving, the accelerator pedal kept getting stuck. So when you're changing the gears, it'd be like, woo, which then becomes quite dangerous when you're cruising down kind of these windy roads in a valley to get to waterfalls and rivers, right? And so this, for me, when we got to the destination the one night, was super stressful, because I'm now thinking, right, the mind's coming in. I'm like, how the hell are we going to solve this? Right? Figuring it out. How the hell are we going to solve it? Like, I'm now scared to death, because now the fear is coming up. Like, are we going to be able to get out? It's 50 kilometers far from the nearest town who has something sensible to fix. And I kind of sat with myself, and I'm sharing this story perhaps for folks to get a sense of how you might be able to, an example of how you might be able to let go. And so first thing was that I took a breath, and we speak about this a lot, in using the breath to come back to the body. And then I asked myself the question, okay, so what's the next best step? Well, the next best step is to not freak out, and let's focus on what we're here for, because we don't want this to kind of ruin our whole holiday. And so we really focused on making sure we had tickets for the path, and that we could enjoy the reason why the hell we had driven down this big mountain really dangerously, to enjoy the river and the walk. And so we got all that sorted. And then I just kept asking questions. And so I started asking spirits and my guys, show me the way, show me the way, show me the way, help me solve this, because I have no idea. And one of the ways that I thought, and this is me trying to figure it out without letting go and trusting, was I was like, Amore, I'm going to go get a mechanic. And so I start like asking this woman at the bar, and she's like, yeah, no, sister, you got no chance of getting a mechanic out here. And I'm like, what? And so now my anxiety starts to go up a little bit more, because I'm freaking out, thinking, well, we're never going to get out of here. Our whole holiday is cancelled and all of that. And again, breathe, come back to the body, trust. Meanwhile, Erika's like, Mish, don't worry, we'll be fine. Okay. And so I then really started leaning into trust, and with intention, right? And for me, it was about managing the emotions. And so what I do is, if I'm feeling the fear, like you were saying, just feel the fear and allow it to pass through you. And with intention, you can let it go. And how I know how I'd let it go is that my body doesn't feel contracted anymore. So that contraction, the denser emotions, result in contraction. The more expansive emotions, the lighter the emotions, result in more expansion. Anyway, and so we just had a chilled out evening, and the next morning we're getting ready for the walk, and we still have no idea as to what the hell is going to happen with this van. Anyway, and so I just basically said to the universe, you guys sort it out. I'm tired. I don't have a clue how to sort this out. Just show me the way. And I started asking for magic. Okay. And so Erika and I are sitting at this picnic bench in the morning. We're having a nice breakfast before we go for a walk in the afternoon. And there's this young man, and he's kind of putting the tablecloths out on the picnic benches, 17 years old, lovely young chap. And he walks towards us, and kind of something came through me. And this is an example of how to kind of just get the mind out of the way. So if I was using the mind and I looked at this young man, I would judge him, and I would say, well, he's only a 17-year-old boy. He's a waiter. He knows nothing. And so if I ask him, he's not going to know the answer. But something within me kind of surfaced. And I just said to him, I said, hey man, how's it going? Started having a good chat. And I said to him, you don't by any chance know of a mechanic in the area? And it was the funniest thing. The young man stopped, and he started scratching his head like this. And then he was silent for like about a minute. And both Erika and I were kind of like, we were in anticipation. We're like, what's going to happen? Like, what is he going to say? It was so beautiful. And he started scratching his head, and you kind of watching the thought go through his mind. And then he kind of said, well, I've actually been studying how to fix tractors, as well as reconstruct old parts for cars that are no longer manufactured.
Wow.
Again, now by this stage, I nearly fell off the bloody chair, because I was like, what the hell? Like, this is like, out of all the people that the universe sends us, through an inspired action, to ask this young man, hey, do you know of anyone, and be kind of detached from the outcome, it turns out this guy's a little genius, that, this is what he does. And so I nearly kind of jumped up and hugged him. I'm like, dude, yes, like, can you come and help us? Just have a look. If you can't fix it, that's absolutely cool. Like, no worries. And he was like, but super shy and gentle young man. And he was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'll take a look. So off we go straight away. We go to the van, and he has a look, and he kind of, sticks his hand in the car, and he starts poking around. And he turns to us and he goes, I see this all the time. Takes the accelerator pedal, just kind of gives it a bend, and he says, yeah, it happens on tractors all the time. He says, look, just try it out. So we start the car, and it's absolutely fine. And to that, and then he just kind of waltzes off like, no pasa nada, nothing's happened. Meanwhile, my mind is like blown. And after he walked off, I actually burst into tears. And I was so moved at how beautiful the universe and spirit and like the hope that you have around you can just, the magic can really manifest if you just let go and trust. And that's an example of one example of many ways to let go. But the energy is feel the fear, allow it to pass through, ask a question, that might be one of the ways, and then allow. And it truly does create a space for magic, like our magic mechanic that was 17 years old, and all he had to do was bend the accelerator pedal. And I was just kind of really so moved by something like that. It was just incredible. And so hopefully that gives folks a bit of inspiration as to kind of how to move through it. So Aurora, just in closing, perhaps you could give us maybe just a take astrologically on what we could expect. And I don't know expectations, we want to set expectations, but just astrologically kind of what's coming towards us post the eclipse season, and then the turn of the year as we kind of reach this final quarter.
Yeah, so when we hit November, November is going to be interesting. Like I said, I can't really pinpoint astrologically what I feel about November, but there is some interesting things. But it is going to be a time, in my visuals, it looks like this higher timeline becomes dominant. The heart-based timeline, if you will, becomes dominant. And so in a way, that's why I guess we're seeing this glitch or this rising of fear, because it's going to push people, just like that story, into the heart. That this isn't going to work anymore. This is going to lead you nowhere. Like Erika said, you're going to collapse along with what you created, right? And so November, I feel, is where this heart-based timeline becomes the more dominant one. And those who are not in the heart yet and haven't let go and haven't been able to drop in, they're going to be urged even more so, because what they're doing is no longer going to work. So they're going to have to really learn on that letting go. But we do have some good astrology as well. Finally, Pluto will be direct in October, right before you guys start the detox on the 1010 portal. So we'll have one planet direct finally. And then in November, on November 4th, we have Saturn finally going direct. And that's a big one too, because Saturn gives us the structure and he gives us some sort of form that we can work with. And since he's been retrograde, it's been a lot of like, we don't really know what's going on. Everything's just kind of wobbly. So he's going to go direct on the 4th of November. So we should feel some more stabilization. Okay, things are now starting to stabilize a little bit. And then we've got a new moon in Scorpio mid-November, and that will also be just a new window of, again, that more energetic healing, clearing out the fear, clearing out the wounds, clearing out those type of things. And then December will be interesting, because then we have Neptune direct, another planet direct, early December. And with Neptune retrograde, it's been a lot of internal healing, but also Neptune can create confusion sometimes when we don't have clarity on something, and that's where the trust comes in. And as Neptune moves forward early December, the clarity will come more. It won't seem as confusing, but we needed to learn just that, the internal sense of trust, before we can really start to also, display that externally. And then at the end of December, actually right after Christmas, we have a beautiful full moon in Cancer, which is a lot of the heart opening. and the heart healing. So I love that. Chiron, the wounded healer, will also go direct on that same day. So the wounds will finally feel like they are healing. And then finally, right before New Year's, on the 30th, Jupiter will go direct out of.
Yes,
So
finally, it's like, yes. Ah.
it's like a big burst towards the end of the year. And then the big highlight will be, I believe it's January 24th. I'm not positive, but it's around that time where Pluto goes into Aquarius again. And that for me feels very much like the age of Aquarius. Like we're going to really see it. We're going to feel it. We're living it. We're all on the same page. So it feels like 2024 will be like a new chapter for humanity. That's what it feels like. So it's exciting, but it's tumultuous, so we're working with those two energies a little bit.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for that. I guess kind of like roller coaster to look forward to. But I must say, I think as we kind of tread this path, even though it can be up and down and it is intense, for me, it becomes more and more moving and more beautiful. And I often say this to folks as we start to go through this journey of ascension, the better it gets, the better it gess. And Erika, you said that in the beginning. You said, I don't want to rush anything because everything's going to unfold as it should. But that's always a helpful reminder for me, because my heart just exploded when that young man kind of fixed our van and was like, yes, help is always there when we need it. Love is always there when we need it. We just need to step into that trust and allow it. So super beautiful. So Erika, just one last question. Is there anything that folks might find helpful to kind of just navigate, aside from coming on our Double Detox, of course, but for folks who aren't able to do that, is there anything that you would recommend folks to do to help navigate this seasonal change? Because I think that's, as Aurora, as you said, that's going to kind of be another step change in the fear kind of barometer. Going up. And so, Erika, I know you've always got some good practical things for folks to do on a body and kind of just a physical side.
Yeah, when you change the season, be aware of the elements, wind, humidity. So you have to be aware of what your body is communicating. So when you start to feel your hand cold, when you start to feel your eyes leaking, so there is a change in your immune system. So be aware of that. There are tons of things that you can suggest, but mainly is feel what is good for your body. Be gentle with your body. That means if you're drinking 10 Cokes a day, maybe yes, time to let go. If the sugar is too high in your life, maybe it's time to go. If you check your diet, have a look. It's not true that you eat like this because you don't have money. You eat like this because you don't have time. These are all stupid story that your mind is telling to you, and you are getting sick. So take care of yourself. That time will be. You actually need time to dedicate to yourself, and not time to make money for dedicate to yourself. That's a game that has been created. So don't run behind the money behind the structure or behind something that your mind can tell you to heal yourself. Don't wait tomorrow, but start today to dedicate time to yourself. The best things is dedicate time to feel yourself. And from there, all the cure comes, because then I cannot tell you the cure or the solution, but you will have the time to ask for the manifestation of the solution. So the key is turn that time that your mind is directing in thousands of things that you have to achieve or do or accomplish or whatever, turn that mind inward. In how are you feeling? How is it? You want to rest? Do you want to go for a walk? Do you feel that you are disconnected? Connect and ground. So feel it, and then if the action is actually a consequence of the feeling, how you are. Action is not a decision, and action is something that comes after you feel. And maybe there is not the need of an action. That's the point where then you arrive to just being.
Yeah. Nice
So
one.
that's it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Erika, as always. And I think just in closing from my side, I loved how, Erika, you drew the similarity of the kidney being like a fetus, right? And the image that kind of came to me, other than the fetus, was the inner child, and doing that work on the inner child, because essentially that's where a lot of our fears and stuff were created. And when we go back, whether it's using people like myself, like Erika, like Aurora, whomever it is, and there's a gajillion folks who can support you, the message here is go and do the work. To look at those feelings that create that fear, feel them, figure out ways to move through them, and release the density. And as you kind of do that, the ride will become a whole lot easier for sure. Well, beautiful ladies, thank you so much as always for spending time. Erika, I get to spend a lot of time with you, so I consider myself super lucky. But Aurora, always wonderful to chat to you. Thank you so much. And for folks listening who don't know, Aurora has recently done a super course. I didn't get a chance to do it myself, but she actually does a good job of explaining how astrology works. And so check that course out. Aurora, maybe if you just shoot me a link on Telegram, I can put that in the YouTube channel, because I know you recorded it for folks. And I think it's uber helpful just to, understand the basics and then kind of use astrology as a tool, not as a, oh my God, this is going to define my life. So thank you for doing that work, by the way.
Oh yeah, no problem. I want to make it practical, and it's a tool like anything else. And if it helps you get in tune with yourself, get in tune with the energy, and the more people in tune, the more connected we're moving in synergy. So I will drop you that link, and thank you guys so much. Everything you're doing is beautiful, and I love these chats. You're both so insightful. I appreciate it.
Yeah, ditto. And maybe we'll organize one kind of either in the new year or kind of in towards the closing of the year, before folks kind of go on their Christmas holidays, if they celebrate that and they're looking for some helpful contents to move into the new year. So thank you. I love you both, and we'll catch up on the next one.
Bye.